together from the cosmic reaches of the universe. Here, in this great hall of the Signal Watch, are the most powerful forces of good ever assembled. Join us as we discuss all manner of topics across the multiverse of comic books, history, creators, storylines, movies, and more. The Signal Watch podcast presents Kryptonian Thought Beast, a comics podcast series dedicated to truth, justice, and peace for all mankind.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Signal Watch. We are here at the unavoidable third episode of our Inhumans coverage. I'm here today with
Hi, I'm Danny Horn from Superheroes Every Day, a comedy blog about the history of superhero movies, from starting with Superman in 1978, the first superhero blockbuster, and then moving forward through time from there.
And I recently saw, all the movies you're planning to do. So Danny will be doing these straight through 2072, as near as I can tell.
Oh yeah, I actually just had like the 1 year anniversary of my blog, and so far I've written about 3 movies, and there are approximately 200 of them. So yeah. it's gonna be a minute. But I'm catching up. The way that I'm catching up is by talking to Ryan about them.
And it's been a delight.
It has absolutely been a delight. And here we are, 3 episodes deep into Marvel's Inhumans, the 2017 mistake on ABC TV.
Yeah, if you haven't, for us, it's been about 2 weeks since we talked about it. I don't know what order you'll be listening to these in, or I assume in chronological order, but I don't know when. Maybe you'll be able to 4 hours, whatever.
They're binging. They're clearly. This is absolutely the kind of thing that you could just listen to like 9 hours straight. So, hi everybody, welcome back to
hour 4 or 5 of Inhumans coverage. Yeah, I imagine there's someone right now driving across Nebraska, and they can't stop until they hit Maine, and they're like, "Thank God I found 9 hours of Inhumans podcast."
Isn't this cute? We think there are people listening.
You talked last time about the fall off in viewership between episodes. Do you have any? Any
updates
idea?
On that? Speaking of our own bad ratings, so where are we now? We're at episodes. So today we're doing episodes 5 and 6 out of 8. The first 2 episodes aired on one night, got 3.8 million people. By the next episode, they lost 1 million. It was 2.8 million people. By the 4th episode, they'd lost another 500,000 or 2.3 million people. And so now, starting from episode 5, they finally stabilize around 2 million viewers. Because if you're still watching, you're either on the bus or you're off the bus. Like, it's just you have made your decision. You are now a person who's watching Inhumans. And so when I said 2 million people, Ryan just made a face of like, I guess that's not so bad. Okay, so here's some numbers to show you how bad that actually is. It's actually terribly bad. In comparison, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time got around 4 million viewers.
Oh,
so it's like half of that. I actually went and clicked around on Wikipedia's like 2017 network TV schedule page. I tried to find anything comparable on the big 3 networks that had about like 2 million viewers, and there wasn't any. Like, I seriously, like 3 million appears to be the cutoff for continuing series on the networks in 2017. Like, the 5th season of The Great Christmas Light Fight had 4 million viewers. So that's where we are. Comparable shows that got similar ratings that year was like Riverdale season 1 and Legends of Tomorrow season 3. But those are on the CW, which is a network entirely aimed at dirty gutter orphans watching TV through a department store window. We're at that level basically with Inhumans. It's doing real well.
The reason I kind of shrugged was I was like, I knew Stargirl was kind of struggling, and then like last week or over the weekend they were tweeting, "Oh, we got 500,000 viewers."
Who did?
Then they were like celebrating they got 500,000 viewers because I don't hear anybody talking about Stargirl.
What is Stargirl?
Stargirl is a DC property. She was a Jeff Johns creation. It's a very cute show about.
Not only have is this on the CW?
Yeah.
Not only have I never heard of the show, I never heard of the character. I don't even know who you're talking about.
Yeah, don't
explain it to me. It's
okay.
Fine.
Well,
yeah, I don't need to know.
The only person you would probably know who's in it is Luke Wilson.
Very well.
Yeah. It's
one of them. Yeah, so 2 million is not good. I mean, but that was 2017, and now, now the networks are probably like, oh my God, they die for 2 million viewers.
Yeah, I have no idea what TV actually does for viewership anymore in 2022.
Yeah, not aware.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember this showing up on Twitter of people even complaining about it.
About Inhumans?
Yeah. Like at this point. Like I remember
by episode 5, everyone.
Yeah, by episode 5, it was the first 2 episodes. People were like,
this is terrible. And then they stopped watching. Yeah.
Yeah. They made the right choice and bailed. Unlike us. I was telling Danny just before we started recording, I have seen this pair of episodes once in full regular speed, and I have fast forwarded through these 2 episodes to try and remember what they were about for reasons that will become obvious why I didn't remember. I've done it twice now, so I'm caught up.
We are part of a very select group of people who have watched these episodes multiple times.
It's us and that guy driving to Maine, through Nebraska.
So if you haven't, just to catch folks up, here's where we are. Family of selfish, hyper-destructive idiot moon mutants have been forced against their will to go on vacation in Hawaii, which they insist on believing is a nightmare, despite the fact that everyone is super nice to them and they're having a wonderful time. And that is where we are. Do you want to jump in? Let's do episode 5.
I mean, not only are they having a wonderful time, Karnak finally gets laid.
Yeah, he gets some. I would like to start, if it's okay, with Black Bolt and Medusa in a car. The king and queen of Atlan, the king and queen of the moon. They're driving around in a car, being driven by their little friend Louise, who's the only good character on the show. They have escaped from a bunch of mean moon mutants who tried to kill them in a parking lot. They managed to blow the parking lot to smithereens, like you do. And then they picked up one of the girls and put her in the trunk and drove away, because this is how you behave. So there's a character named Locus, like in the trunk, like pounding from the inside of the trunk, because that's how you treat people. And Black Bolt and Medusa have a little like sign language conversation about how badly people have treated them lately. And finally, Louise says, "Hey, can we let this girl out of the trunk? Like, is that okay?" And they like stop off randomly at the side of the road and let her out, and she's not pleased. Although, like, from her conversation, I kind of would have put her in the trunk as well. She's not fun to talk to, I guess.
No, she is one of everyone on the moon who are from the moon is very upset with everything all the time. They don't like each other. They've been on the moon too long. But yeah, the default for her I think you and I have talked about how Flora and Locus are a little hard tell apart in this show.
I'm not sure what happened to Flora.
Flora's still running around. She shows up through these episodes, but all she does is kind of gripe at people.
Mm-hmm.
And like one or two lines. It's insane. These actors were given no choice but to just be grumpy, which is apparently
the entire time. Yeah. So they let her out of the car. Now Locust, her special magical power is that she can echolocate. She makes this like huge loud sound, and then apparently can like get a fix on anything she's looking for, which is not how echolocation works. And so they're talking about like, put her in the trunk. And she says, well, like, not like that's any different from how the royal family normally treats us. And it's like, wait, so they treat the mutants badly too? What the hell? Like, the thing that we've been talking about with this culture is like, if you are special and gifted, you go through your like Encanto gift ceremony and you get like a magic mutant power, you're one of the elite of the society. And if you come out and you don't, then you're like garbage, you're inhuman garbage, and they put you in down underground and make you like dig with your fingernails for shit. But apparently now we are discovering that they don't treat the mutants very well either. And it's like, is anybody happy in their little like moon parking garage?
They're clearly, whatever the society is in its last days, no matter what.
Yes. Yeah. And so, oh gosh. So like Louise is finding out just how terrible the moon is. And she's asking Locust, like, so do you see his location? Like, how does this work? Like, do you see where he is or how far he is? And she's like, yes, all of that. Okay, how does that work? I don't know. It just does. Oh my God, you're terrible. And then she says that she didn't actually want to do this at all. She wanted to be a healer. And I'm like, well, I bet you'd be amazing at it. Like, look at your incredible bedside manner. You're so warm. I can tell that you would be just an amazing healer. But then like Medusa says like, well, Terrigenesis decides all, and finding things is Locust's one true path in our society. And Louise is like, how are you really? Like, how are you all so terrible? And Medusa's like, look, the laws of the land in Adelan aren't perfect. It's like, yeah, I guess the fuck not.
I want to use this as a leverage point to point out this is where I think this episode is where the rewrites must have started on Medusa.
Okay.
Because she is wildly inconsistent now, giving many different monologues for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
She gives about one or two monologues now until the show ends. Yeah. Part of it is she's got to fill in for her doofy king who can't
who doesn't talk. But, we haven't. Oh, that's so funny. We haven't talked about that. Like, we didn't talk about that, I think, the whole last episode, because now you and I have just gotten used to the fact that like the main character on the show doesn't speak or do anything. He just like is a piece of like meat that walks around.
Which, fair enough. I mean, in the comics, I know a few friends who are like Black Bolt fans or whatever.
How? Based on what?
They like the little tuning fork on his head or whatever. But I don't know.
Speak to these people.
I will introduce you to Randy. But the writ large, Medusa's the face of the Inhumans in the comics as well, because they wrote themselves into that corner of Black Bolt might be.
Here's a character.
He's a king, but it's Medusa who has to do all the talking. Right. Here, she's not. It's not what you would expect as far as. I mean, of course, we're only, as I complained last episode, we're only seeing them in this stress situation. But there's no like, well, let me consult with Black Bolt, and I will then present this united front of the royal couple. It's we're going to fight in front of the kids constantly. And I'm going to always win because he can't talk. But she also
she actually, now that you say that, she actually does lose a couple arguments, which is pretty amazing. If it's possible for you to lose arguments against the guy who doesn't talk.
Yeah, just look away. But she starts vacillating here between this is the way it's always been, and they do try and like make it a character thing, but by the end of the series, you don't really get how these two are together. It feels like mommy and daddy might be daddy might be getting an apartment. So anyway, it's a fascinating thing to try and figure out. When you read, there were all these rewrites and agreed what it was, and I gotta think stuff we'll get to later, like when they have the really weird shot of them at the supposedly the road that's out. That has to be completely a rewrite insert, and I'll talk about why when we get to it.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But they're having these like conversations, and Medusa, like Black Bolt's all like upset because they're questioning his terrible leadership, and Medusa says like, "Oh, they just don't understand you because you've been guarded for so long." And it's like, I don't feel like that's. I feel like the problem is that you're tyrannical psychopaths and not your like messaging strategy. And it really does feel like they have this. They should have this moment where they're like, "Are we the baddies? Like, let's think about our situation." And like, I think we're the bad guys. Okay. But that doesn't happen for them. And so like Locus's little iPhone rings or Comlink rings. And Medusa answers the phone, and she talks to Maximus on the moon. So Maximus is to remind people, he is the bad, evil, fascist dictator who's taken over the moon, who is correct about absolutely everything that he ever says, and we're totally on his side. And Black Bolt and Medusa like answer the phone, give up all of their tactical advantages, and yell at him. And so I think, Ryan, you and I last time, we sort of realized we don't talk about Maximus that much. Like, he's there and he's constantly on screen, but you and I haven't really talked about him because he doesn't like. So I decided I would explain a Maximus scene, and that will be, and then we don't have to talk about a Maximus scene anymore for the whole rest of the time. So the one where he's talking to Tybor. So he's got this little friend named Tybor, who I think was the head of the genetic council. But then Maximus like killed everybody else in the genetic council, and Tybor didn't seem to notice or care.
I suspect the entire Tybor thing was inserted later to give Maximus someone
to talk to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of Tybor drama.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I think it's because they or it was just very badly written. It's one of the two. I can't really decide.
I'm fascinated that you several times have said like that you can tell somehow through like digital fingerprinting, like what's rewrite and what's just incompetent. I'm not sure how you do that because all of it is thoughtless and ridiculous to me. But
yeah, and I'll talk about why I think when we get to kind of the end of the storyline, Tybor's.
Oh, Tybor. So the scene that I want to talk about is just like Tybor's talking to Maximus. Maximus wants to send more, like he has sent, crazy mutant soldiers down to Hawaii to trap the royal family. It has not worked out in any way. Now he wants to send some more people for no reason. And he's decided this time he's just going to send people from like the lower caste. I'm not sure why he decides that.
They're out of soldiers.
How could they be out of soldiers? There's only
there's only 1,400 people. They don't need. This is one of the interesting things. Technology is derived.
These are the only ones.
Yeah, well, technology is derived from the need for technology, right? Like you develop a cannon because you don't want to get near the other army. You want to hit them from far away.
Yeah,
they've in their supposedly peaceful society developed laser weapons that we don't have on Earth.
Okay.
Which maybe it's because someone was like super smart or something. It was like, this is cheaper than bullets, or we can't fire bullets. But they have a standing army for
4 people.
Yeah, but it's like, well, they're really kind of like the Mayberry RFD or whatever police.
Oh, like the security people who are on the moon.
That's all you would really have in a town of 1,400 people. You'd have like 5.
Yeah, cops. Like a little collection of deputies. Yeah, dumb
and
deputies.
Gorgon's constant, and he's in charge. That's who they put in charge. So they have Barney Fife in charge of their police department. And it's. I mean, he's. They keep making fun of the fact he's not the smartest guy, right?
Yeah.
And his plan for everything is smash.
Yeah,
smash!
I'm just gonna stomp on it. That'll be cool. I'll just come over and hit him.
Which I guess that's all you really need in a fascist dictatorship is a guy who's like, someone's disagreeing with the king. Let me hoof him.
Yeah. But basically, like everything, all of the people, they have these magical mutant powers, which make them supposedly superior. All of them are like in one way or another kind of debilitating. So we have not had a lot of luck. And so Maximus wants to send like lower caste people down to see if they can help, which they won't. And Tybor so Tybor is calling Maximus my king. And Maximus says, "Oh, Tybor, you're an old friend. Call me Maximus." And then they have this conversation about should we send lower caste people, and Tybor says like, "Oh, the people won't like it." And Maximus basically tells him to shut the hell up. And then he says, "You know what? I like it better when you call me my king." And Tybor's like, "Yes, my king." And it's basically that, like, that's, I think, the quintessential Maximus scene of just like episode after episode, like they just talk and he feels bad. And then that's it for so many episodes.
Yeah.
So I will update people when Maximus decides he wants to be called something else.
No, but you're right. I mean, that's essentially it. He tries to assert some form of authority. Something doesn't quite go the way he planned.
He makes a little face. He gets a little butthurt.
Yeah, and then the scene ends, and then
the scene dribbles to a close. Yeah,
and then he's talking to a teenager trying to get him in the next scene
to touch him.
Yeah.
Touch me and tell me.
I never
touch my skin and tell me my future.
Oh
it's
man.
Bad.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Karnak. We have said before, like if you did a fan cut of the show that was only the Louise scenes, it would be an amazing show. If you only do the Karnak scenes, it would make you kill yourself. Karnak is miles from Lost, all sweaty and confused with tattoos on his face. He can plan for everything and can see the flaw in every plan. And he wakes up in a tent on a hidden, mysterious pot farm in the wilds of Oahu. He has had sex with Jen, with the pretty magical. So the pot farm, as you'll recall, is owned and operated by three terrible people. There is Reno, who is clearly a psychopath. There's Jen, a magical pixie dream girl. And then there's the disposable Ted, who has now been disposed of.
I think his IMDb listing is disposable Ted.
Yeah, so Jen has decided that she is a free spirit, despite obviously the fact that like she is owned and operated by Reno. She has decided that she is a free spirit and that she's gonna have sex with Karnak in her tent, as disgusting as that sounds. And so in a rage, he is so angry. Reno is so angry about Jen having sex with somebody else that he kills Ted and digs a grave and throws him in it and doesn't cover it. Ryan, why does he kill Ted? Can you explain that to the people? Why does he shoot Ted?
Because of rewrites. I suspect there was more story at some point around all this Karnak stuff, or the writing was just incredibly shoddy around all of this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any sense. They're just trying to prove Reno's crazy. So
yeah. Like, right. He has to. Yeah. No, that's right. You're absolutely right. Like he has to do something crazy, and so what he does is he kills Ted and buries him. And so Karnak and Jen come out of the tent in the morning, and Reno is standing right there. And just the first thing that happens, he just shoots a bullet directly at Karnak, as he should. All Inhumans should be shot at on sight. And then Karnak does this insane thing where like time slows down, and he calculates exactly how he can move his arm to smack the bullet out of the sky.
I don't mind that in theory, like if that's his power. What is confusing to me is all the discussion about his power.
Right.
Like his thing is he's supposedly able to kind of see like not just the literal angle of things like bullets. Like, if I hit it with this much force,
like this.
I can,
yeah.
But he can see kind of like the political angle of things as well, and be a good, concierge, or not. What's the word I'm looking for? Not concierge. What's Tom Hagen?
Grand Vizier.
We'll say Grand Vizier. Tom Hagen from Godfather. What was he? He was
the consigliere.
Yes. So he that's kind of like he's the karate chopping Tom Hagen. Yeah. And that's, whatever. Now
the thing is, it's hard for me to believe that this is possible, because people have shot at me all the time, and I always try to hit it with my hand, just hit the bullet with my hand and make it ricochet off my hand and go somewhere else. So far, I have been entirely unsuccessful. It's happened dozens of times. I've never been able to do that successfully, but apparently that's a thing that Karnak can do, is if you hit it. So the problem, obviously, with me trying to fend off bullets with the side of my hand is I'm just not getting it at exactly the right angle.
Right.
Karnak, see, that's how great he is. Karnak can actually tell the perfect angle to hit a speeding bullet with your hand and just kind of deflect it and make it go somewhere else. Now, unfortunately, where it goes is directly into the side of Jen. And now she's got a bullet in her gut. So that didn't work out that well. And then Reno's like, what? And then it takes him a second. And so Karnak's like, come on, let's run. And so they run. So like she's got a bullet in her gut and they're running, and Reno's chasing them 9 shots out of his handgun, which is pretty good, I think. And so he's chasing them, and they kind of like randomly end up falling into the grave with Ted's body, and he's after them with his gun, and then his phone rings and he's like, oh wait, I have to take this. And he takes the call. And it is these mean guys. Did you understand who the mean guys are? Because I don't really. This is like the cartel, I guess, the drug cartel that they're selling to.
Right. So yeah, I think that Reno is a low level, or at least he's the farmer, and they're the distributors on whatever island they're on in Hawaii.
Yeah. It feels to me like these guys would be, if it was not Hawaii, they would be Mexican. I feel like it's kind of these are the Mexicans of Oahu who show up because they've got guns and trucks, and they're very mean, and they want to take control of all the pot.
It's a really weird side quest. This is also something I think, for many, many reasons, must have gone through some weird reshoots.
So hard to tell. Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't really make any sense. And that's really when I'm start like going, was this reshoot? So because it creates more action. Now there's a cartel or whatever that's shown up, but it doesn't make any sense. They're not going to introduce the characters enough for you to get invested.
No, it's just like here's the mean cartel.
Yeah, and they I think that maybe there were rewrites around it or something, where either they were more important initially or something. I don't know. I couldn't begin to guess, but it just feels like it just doesn't ever stitch together to the point, including Jen's wound now will be of varying degrees of seriousness minute by minute for the next 30 minutes of the show, maybe 45 minutes of the show, including am I allowed to say like how she departs the show?
We'll get there. Let's get there.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Well, they literally like scene by scene keep saying, "Oh, this is really bad.
Is either serious or
fine.
not, or not that serious."
Yeah.
Well, so the mean guys show up, and this is funny because I really thought that people involved with pot were generally pretty relaxed and happy, but no, everyone that we see. Oh my God, could Reno not use like about 3 hits a day at least? Because
that's one of the things that's super bizarre. Is why is he the one who's
unbelievably
like
wound up? I know, right? Like, yo, why don't you smoke like any of the stuff that's around you? And so the cartel guy is like, where's Ted? Because he's on a first name basis with everybody. And Reno's like, oh, he had an accident. And the guy's like, And so like he takes them out to the open grave where Ted is there. And then the cartel guy just shoots Reno. And he's like, I don't like people who kill their partners. And so it's just like everybody on the show who has a name has to be destroyed within like 2 episodes of their first appearance.
Yeah.
So it's like typical kind of Inhumans scenario, just like no survivors. So now Reno's dead, Ted's dead. Karnak and Jen are out in the woods. He's acting like Spock. He manages to like pop the bullet out of her body by like tapping on her back. They make a big deal about like he's doing this medical care, and he's like, okay, just stay still. And then he like hits her, and the bullet just pops out of her body. And then the thing that he says is, this is one of the rare cases when the shortest distance between 2 points is actually a straight line. And I'm like, what? Wait, I thought the shortest distance between points is always a straight line. Was that a joke? Like, I don't understand Karnak's jokes.
Yeah, I think the writers thought they were being clever, and it just ended up making absolutely no sense.
I don't know where they got that idea. And so they make a plan. So all of this is about teaching Karnak that you can't plan everything. That's the character thing, I think, that they're supposed to be trying to do with him, is like teaching him somehow how to relax, but by like just making the worst possible plans. So the plan that Karnak and Jen come up with, they're running around, Reno's trying to kill them. What are they going to do? Let's go back to camp.
Let's go to where we know the guys are.
The guy is. Yeah. They don't know about the cartel guys. They just know about Reno. But they're like, let's go back to camp. And they're talking about it. And he's like, I don't see the flaw in this plan. And I'm like, really? Because I see several immediately. As far as you know, there's a guy chasing you around, a psychotic guy chasing you around with a gun who wants to kill you. The camp is where he lives. Let's just go back to camp. So they get back and no one's there. And they just start sitting around. Like Jen just sits down at a table and chills. That's the plan. I don't really understand this. And then Karnak just starts fucking around with sticks. He wants a weapon. And so he picks up this like bamboo pole and like starts swinging around like a ninja. He's doing all these things. And it's like, guess who did a class in stage fighting? He's doing all this thing. The cartel guys show up with a truck. They're going to like take all the pot. Now everyone's dead. They're going to take all their pot. At this point, like, Reno's dead. These guys have no idea who Karnak and Jen are. There's no reason for them to have anything to do with this at all. Anyway, but he's like, he tells Jen, like, go run out into the woods somewhere and bleed to death. And I'll stick around and I'll fight them. Because like, as with every Inhumans character, he has the immediate instinct to screw up everything he comes into contact with.
I have absolutely no idea why they didn't just hide 10 feet into the woods till those guys were gone. It also takes those guys hours to load about 7 bales of pot. It is maybe 3 minutes of work.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they enjoyed all the product, hung out, listened to a little, Santana. I don't know what they're doing.
Some fish. So Karnak tries to attack them with his little bamboo stick and loses the fight, obviously. And then Jen just like takes a lantern and sets all the pot on fire. So that's the disaster area happening over there. So Crystal, as you'll recall, Crystal is the pretty blonde princess of the royal family. She's on a farm where with a pretty dude named Dave, who doesn't farm anything. Dave has a very pissy ex-girlfriend veterinarian who's taking care of their stupid dog. So Crystal has a stupid teleporting dog named Lockjaw, and they're kind of at a loose end. And so Crystal's like, hey, why don't you touch my dog? And then we'll teleport to various other places and see if we can find my family. And Dave is just dumb enough to do it. He's just like, sure. Hey, I want to put my hand on your dog.
Look, that's all he wanted to put his hand on. But
yeah. And
Here's the thing with Crystal and this veterinarian is the veterinarian they have brought in for her canine medical expertise. Then these two fight with everything she tells them. Like, this dog needs rest. Fuck you.
Yeah.
We're going to teleport all over the island. And then
and she says like he can't like run around. He needs rest. And Crystal's like, that's okay. He'll just teleport. And it's like, does that take less energy to teleport? Transmit your molecules? Sure. No, they don't. They're not good with medical advice. So Lockjaw just like randomly teleports them wherever, and they end up on like yet another beautiful, completely empty beach. And then beautiful Dave, he's so pretty. He's the only other character that I can stand. He's talking to Crystal, and he's like, and they're on the beach. And he's like, yeah, you want to know the state motto of Hawaii? This is my office. Which is it's an old tourism ad from Hawaii. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. He's just so stupid. But then he like sits on the beach and just looks gorgeous, and that's his job.
He teaches her to hang loose. He teaches her the hand gesture.
Yeah, he says like, hey, do you have people like to hang out with? And she's like, no, I don't have any friends on the moon to like, what do you call it? Hang out with? It's very like Captain Kirk, like teach me what kissing is. And he's like, well, our other state motto is hang loose. And he does the little hang loose hand gesture, which is terrible. And so now he is teaching her. Now we teach the Inhuman how to hang loose. His examples are, if you feel like doing a handstand, you do it. And then he just does a handstand. He's so free spirited. Like, this is going to lead to us fucking is basically what he's doing. He's a master at this, by the way. He's unbelievably good at it.
He's definitely picked up a lot of high school girls before.
He really has. Yeah. And he's like opening up the world to them.
Yes.
Let me teach you.
You're so wise for your age.
Yeah, let me teach you how to hang loose. Right, yeah, like these 14-year-olds. And he's like, and if you want to run out into the ocean, you do it. And then he takes off his shirt, which is 100% the correct answer. Giving us the first thing worth looking at in this entire episode, I'm going to say.
He is the manic pixie dream boy or something. He is. It's behavior that you've seen written for women in movies a bajillion times, trying to get the uptight, accountant to run off with Madonna or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird to see it gender flipped this way, especially because she's not like, if it was Medusa, it would make more sense.
I would love to see Dave pulling this kind of bullshit on Medusa.
Yeah, I mean, then she'd be like, yeah, I have work to do. My life is stressful. Crystal, all we've seen her doing is playing with her Inhumans iPod and like...
Yeah, her dog.
Yeah, dicking around with her dog in her luxury apartment.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, so you're saying, like, because he's not teaching her, like, how to relax. He's just teaching her how to, like...
Be Hawaiian, I guess.
Hang out with another human being. Yeah. So he takes off his clothes and runs into the surf and then, like, encourages her to come and hang loose with him. This is like the second time in I don't know how many episodes where there's just like, let's run into the ocean and have sex. Apparently that's what the ocean is for.
Mm-hmm.
But I will allow it. If I was her, I would too.
We talked about it last episode. I like Dave.
I like Dave too.
Yeah.
Dave is incredibly likable.
Yeah. He's not coming up with made up friction.
No,
he doesn't have some crazy storyline where there's drug dealers running rampant all over the place.
He hangs loose.
He hangs loose. What's not to like about it? He has ideas from time to time, too.
He does have ideas. I know he's actually the smartest character in the show. So let's talk about some dumb characters. Orin. Orin is the mean lady from the moon, who is Maximus's, I don't know, hired muscle or something. She's the enforcer. Maximus on the moon tells her go to Hawaii and shoot people and do bad things, and so that's what she does. so far.
I didn't mention last time when we were talking about Orin, like, if you're a Medusa and you step out of the Terrigenesis booth, your lovely red hair suddenly starts feeling like hands or whatever. And you know, you know what you can do. Someone else has wings. How did Orin figure out?
It took a minute.
Like,
she had to get punched. She had to get punched in the face first. That's a very good point.
Be like a part B of how the Terrigenesis ceremony was. So, well, nothing's obvious. Just start hitting her and see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what she does. Yeah, they just start. Well, they put her in the danger room. That's what they do. They put her in the danger room and see what she reacts to. Orin's power is to heal when she. Well, let me say it this way: the many times that she gets killed, her power is to come back from being dead.
Yeah,
which you wouldn't think is a power that you would use a lot, and yet she apparently needs to use it about once a day.
Meaning she's a very bad soldier.
Yeah, she gets killed all the time. Like, here's how great she is at this. Is like they're at like a makeshift lab somewhere in Oahu, and there's a smoking crater outside the lab where part of the parking lot used to be. That's Orin. Like, that's how she takes care of business. Like, they burn. Orin, actually, like, the great thing about Orin is that she is a strong female character. Like, this is kind of the ultimate stereotype, like, strong female character, I feel, where they're like physically strong, but she never makes good decisions, and she fails at every single thing that she does.
Yeah.
She is not good at this. She keeps getting murdered. And then there's Dr. Declan. Dr. Declan is a human being, a very dumb human being, Desmond from Lost, who basically went outside. So after like this big fight and explosion outside, and all of the the shouting, the screaming dies down and the smoke blows away, and so Declan and his lab assistant kind of tiptoe outside, and what do they find is like 2 dead bodies and of these Inhumans, and so they take them inside and start fucking with them and like doing autopsies on them. And so one of them is actually dead, thank God. And then Orin just sits up and murders Declan's partner. Just like chokes him and kills him.
She shoves something into his eye, doesn't she?
Into his, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. She just
that old chestnut.
Yeah. Just stab him in the eye and kill him. Now Declan still thinks that this is like a project that he's gonna pursue. He's amazing. That character, like, nothing stops that dude, no matter what happens to him. And like everything happens to him.
Oh, as a project manager, I wish I had people with that tenacity on my team.
He really does have a lot of like stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah, he's gonna overcome the challenges.
Yeah, you try to recruit people as like being part of your experiment, they inevitably like run away and blow things up and kill your partner. There's a point in episode 7 where even Declan looks around and he's like, wait, is there a reason why I'm still on this show? Like, even after a while, even he does not understand why everyone else dies, but Declan survives.
Well, and to that point, the show clearly introduced characters and then didn't know what to do with them. Not least of which is Black Bolt's prison buddy,
Sammy,
who just gets kind of like, well, you're still on the show, just keep taking a check and shut up. Like,
still around.
Like, the poor dude is like humping it through the woods with
he has run away.
Face and Flora.
he was with these dudes like probably like up to and including the explosion in the parking lot, maybe. Yeah, and like, but he just runs away.
Black Bolt does not give a shit. By the way, he doesn't go, I gotta go back for Sammy.
No, they do. No, because there's a whole thing. Well, not then, but like later on, they do. Sammy from jail. His friend Sammy, his rapist friend Sammy from jail, just runs away. He's an Inhuman too. None of this matters. And the other 2 like of Orin's people, Mortis and Flora. Like, there's a whole thing where like Sammy's running away through the jungle, and then Flora like uses her vegetable powers to tangle him up in vines. I don't really know why these people are all still alive. Anyway, but they grab him. They all bring him back to Declan's lab, and Maximus talks to Orin, and basically, so they make a new plan, which is that all of them just stay in Declan's lab and make Black Bolt, who was there and blew them all up and ran away. Now their plan is to have Black Bolt come back and blow them all up again.
I don't see a flaw in this plan.
That's the plotting. I don't see the flaw in this plan either. That's how the plot works on this show.
It's a fascinating plan because they do know all Black Bolt has to do is say like, ugh, and they're all dead.
And everyone dies.
They're all dead. He
probably won't. But they know that he probably won't.
I think
he doesn't need to. He just the fact that he killed them all, he blew them all up using a gas canister outside the building, just says he's gonna find another way to kill you all. Orin doesn't mind. So that's that plan. So I think, is that when they call him? I think so. They call him. Mm-hmm. Oh no, that's later. Okay, actually, that's later. I'm not saying. But
you have to have Gorgon show up and start. Yeah.
Okay. So Karnak is out in the jungle. So this is where everybody gets together. It's Karnak is getting beat on by the cartel guys, and then here comes Gorgon, the guy with the hooves, who has basically he's hardly been in the episode. He spends the episode basically sniffing like a tracker dog and trying to find Karnak, and finds him somehow. So Karnak, so Gorgon helps Karnak get away, and then they're in the jungle, and they're wait, what's going on? And they hear off in the distance gunshots and screams and explosions, and they're oh, that sounds like our family encountering another group of living beings. That's how you know that your family's around, is people are screaming and dying. And so with no explanation, then there's Black Bolt and Medusa and Louise and Locus, who are just hey, we just ran into some people back there. Are they friends of yours? Because they're dead now.
So this I know I keep saying this is a rewrite, but this makes no sense.
You have to stop saying the word rewrite.
I know,
I have to insist upon this.
And that's fine, but it's absolutely insane storytelling to have we've spent an episode and a half leading up to this point for Karnak.
Yeah.
And he's gotten his ass kicked by these people.
Yeah.
And Gorgon kind of had to
multiple times. Multiple times.
They are the two best warriors, we are told repeatedly in their high school.
But this is a bad day. They're having a bad day.
Yeah. But then the guy who can't talk, the lady with the buzz cut, the scientist, and the girl who knows where shit is come stumbling out of the woods.
And Louise.
No, that was I included Louise there.
Yeah. And so these guys with machine guns, these bad cartel guys with machine guns, are all dead.
What happened? I gotta know. Did he find another gas pipe to open?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It so does, though. This is ostensibly a superhero show where we would get to see some action occur.
Oh, yeah. No.
We saw Karnak do stick karate for a few minutes. We saw Gorgon kick more people. Yay.
Yeah.
And then, but we don't get to see the bad guys actually soundly squarely defeated. I gotta know what they actually did. But it's easier just to write, and that's why I was when I read the thing about the rewrites, and then this occurs, I'm they're just trying to get from point A to point B. Something didn't connect here, and
it's just a sound effect. It's just a sound.
Yeah,
effect.
And so they just do hand
that subplot. That subplot is now over. Yeah,
and this is the scene where they're standing around. Jen has been bleeding out now for hours out of a gut wound.
Yeah, I mean he did pop the bullet out, and then did he sew her up?
No.
Oh, she had a little sewing kit. No, he sewed her up with a little sewing kit. Yeah.
I must have.
But she's not. Yeah, but she's not having a good time. She's still got a
internal hemorrhaging,
badly sewn up little gut wound. And this is the moment where she's okay, I'm gonna go. I mean, actually, I would say that probably this is the most sensible thing that anybody says in the entire episode is Jen looks at the world around her. She looks at like Karnak and Gorgon and Black Bolt and Medusa, and she's like, you know what? I'm an ankle. Like, I've got places to be, and y'all are great. And so she just says, I'm going to go call the police and just tell them some shit happened.
But they've established they're in the middle of the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
There are no humans. The reason this pot farm exists is because nobody comes here. They are in a remote ass area. She has an open and bleeding wound, probably internal hemorrhaging because she was shot, and then someone pulled the bullet back out.
Yeah,
and she doesn't have a phone. There's no roads really.
Oh yeah, she just says like, I'm gonna go find.
And then she walks off in the most awkward shot. She walks right towards the camera and off. And that's it. It's not even like a proper goodbye sequence. It's like they just set up a camera and were like, this is your line, this is your line, this is your line. Everyone got it. Good, Jen, you're done. Thank you. That's a wrap. Everyone clap for Jen.
Yeah, everyone clap for Jen. My favorite thing about it is that she tells Karnak, we had a good time, but now we have to go our own way. I'm like, you had a good time? What part of that was the good time that you just had?
You
got shot.
We were watching that scene, Jamie and I, just before this, and I was like, this is a Tuesday for Jen.
You fell down into a grave and found your
on top of your former lover.
Yeah. What part of this was the good time for you? The cartel killing everyone?
Yeah.
Setting fire to the pot? Like, what was the good time? She had a good time. Some people know how to have a good time. That's all I can say. And then Locust just falls over.
Then Locust just falls. She's totally fine. Hasn't complained a lick. Hasn't said, "Oh, guys, bullet wound." Someone's gotta help me.
They have conversations, and then all of a sudden, Locust is like, and she's dead now.
Yeah. Again, like because all of this kind of happens within this one scene, I want to know what happened in the writer's room. I gotta know.
You know what? I'm gonna say a word, and this is the last time we're ever gonna say it.
Yeah.
I bet it was a rewrite.
I don't.
Locust dies. Locust dies of rewrites, as we all do. So, and that's pretty much it. But so I just want to talk for a second.
Yeah.
About before the end of episode 5, about the concept of Inhumans dying, which they do a lot in this show, right? So here's Locust is dead. The other guy with Orin was dead. The Genetic Council was all killed. Other people have been killed. Like at least 2 Inhumans die every episode, basically. And they're sending more down from the moon. There's only 1,400 people in this entire civilization. You can't afford to lose any.
This event is going to rock the Inhuman community like nothing before.
They treat this very casually. So like the thing that's amazing for me is like for a show that talks incessantly about genetics, you have no idea what a gene pool is supposed to look like. You cannot lose your young, sexy people, y'all. This is bad.
I'm not disagreeing. The number of deaths in this, in the complete lack of interest by the main characters. When people are literally like, if Jen had died, Karnak probably would have been like, I feel like that really advanced my narrative. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah. I mean, that is.
And Locust's death is utterly pointless. It was like they just didn't want to pay her anymore to be on the set.
Now, the nice thing is is the way that they like dig a grave for her and do a little. They say a little prayer. They put a little cairn of stones on top. No, I'm just kidding. They just leave her there.
I don't remember any. Oh, right, because they don't. They leave her to be eaten by like feral pigs in the woods.
You know what it is? She's gonna have a special page in the yearbook. That's what's gonna happen to Locust.
Oh man.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of episode 5 of Inhumans. Stay tuned. We'll be back for episode 6, where, I don't even know.
I look inside myself and see my heart is black.
All right, so here we are, episode 6 of Marvel's Inhumans. Ratings are just around the same. If you enjoyed episode 5 of Marvel's Inhumans, here you are back for more. Where do we start? Let's start with Crystal and Dave. They return to the non-pot farm, which is still standing amazingly. And there's Audrey. There's Dave's ex-girlfriend, Audrey, who gets more play than you think that she would. She is furious about just about everything. Really not clear why she's even still around. But she's very mad at Crystal and Dave for being from the moon and teleporting. She kind of scolds them, and she's like, shouldn't you be on a register or something? And she tries to take a picture of Crystal. And she's like, I'm going to make sure they have a picture of you. And Crystal uses her like flamethrowing element power to burn the phone and like slam the phone out of the girl's hand. And she's like, I'm not afraid of you. And Crystal says, you should be. And Audrey says, this isn't over. And it's like, Audrey is actually the big bad of this entire show. She's the actual villain.
She has some serious like Karen-ish vibes in this scene.
She does. Oh, right. Of like, I'm going to record you.
Yeah, I'm going to record you. I'm going to get in your face and ask, why are you here? Why are you in this space?
Are they paying her? I feel like they should pay her.
You know, she showed up to do a favor. And so initially, but I think she also was like, oh, I get to get back with Dreamy Dave. And then realized,
it's not happening because he's got some moon girl.
Yeah. So she's already angrily texting friends about Dave and his dumb skank from the moon.
Girl.
I also want to point out Crystal's hair. They've given up on giving her the one defining feature of Crystal in the comics is she has this kind of weird circular band in the back of her hair that I always thought was just like an ornament, like a thing she wore in her hair. This is
it's like spray painted into her hair somehow. Yeah.
And here, but for now, we're on episode 3 or 4 of her just tying her hair back. And then the ends of her hair also are no longer dyed. They were at the beginning, and they are now just the rest of her hair.
I did not clock that.
Yeah, I was looking for little telltale signs of them getting lazy as they were shooting, and that was
it didn't look very good, so I'm not upset about that.
Yeah, I think they realized this looks like garbage. We can't keep doing this.
Yeah, it looks awful. Yeah. So Crystal and Dave want to figure out how to find her family, and then Dave has an idea, which shows you kind of where we've come at this point. This is my office guy, the hang loose guy. He's got ideas. He thinks that she should create lightning with her fingers, which is the thing she knows how to do. And she's like, oh, what a great idea. And she just like starts raising her hands like she's going to create lightning like right here next to his barn. And he's like, let's go somewhere else that's not right next to my barn if we're going to create fake lightning. And like, I believe that Dave is the smartest person on the show.
Yeah.
Like, when you're being outthought by Dave.
Don't draw down lightning next to a metal barn.
Next to the barn that you own. He's actually the one person in the show who probably has any kind of like self-preservation instinct of like, how about we don't destroy everything I own? Gotta hand it to Dave. You got to give it. Plus, he decided to break up with Audrey. So
yeah,
smartest man on the show.
And dodging bullets. Yeah, the confrontation with Audrey is one of those things that actually like it feels like it comes from a place. It's been building, and it's going to take us somewhere by the end of the episode. It felt like they have like. Of the many confusing things this show did narratively, this has a sequence of things that make sense.
That is true. They nailed it. They really nailed Dave.
Anyway, I don't want to go on too much longer about that, but it's one of those things where I'm like, they wrote something down, they filmed it, and that's what's in the show. So,
well, you know what they figured out? They figured out, like someone finally learns from the WB, like the WB, like in their prime when they just made like endless numbers of actually pretty good shows that were all aimed at like college students, which is what I was when they started doing this. And just like populating our lives with like gorgeous model boys who do cute things on TV. It feels to me like Dave is just straight out of the WB. And as he should be. Yeah. But the rest of the family's a mess. So the family is out in the jungle, just lost, circling a blood-soaked pot farm, burned up pot farm. So Oren, who's at Declan's lab, Oren is the mean lady, Declan is Desmond. She calls Locus's comlink. Locus is the one who just died. I'm realizing that like now there's so many stupid names that it's hard. I want to help people.
You're doing good because I don't remember anybody's name. So this is excellent. Thank you.
Because you and I just talked about this like 2 minutes ago. So she calls Locus's comlink, and once again, like Medusa just can't resist picking up the phone. So she's just anyone who calls. It's a good thing they don't tell
me. They must mean me.
Here, I'm just gonna like pick up any phone. She's like, what? And so Oren tells Medusa and Black Bolt, like, we have Declan and we have your little friend Sammy, who you do not care about. Neither of those people do you actually care about. You ran away and left those people behind to die. But hey, we still have them here and we're going to kill them. And so you guys have to come back. And Medusa's like, what? We're just going to walk right into your trap? And the answer is like, yes, obviously, yes. If you only had Dave, if they only had Dave. The problem with the show is that there is only one Dave. Dave is helping Crystal do something not stupid, but he's not there to help these guys. So they make a completely random plan, which is Karnak and Gorgon, you go and beat up Oren and save these people who we don't care about, while Black Bolt and Medusa and Louise will go off and fight Crystal or find Crystal and her lightning.
It is an absolutely mind-boggling decision. Like,
let's split up. Let's split up. Yeah.
They just found each other. They don't have any way to find each other again because Locus is dead.
Yep.
And they're like, you know what we should do on this island we've just been totally bumfuck lost for days on is let's obviously run in opposite directions.
Yep.
And at that, we clearly need both Black Bolt and Medusa. When Black Bolt is the most mighty weapon on the planet.
Yeah.
To go look for a wayward
girl. Crystal. Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna go to the mall and pick up like their teenage cousin.
Like he if nothing else, his presence as the king would make everybody crap themselves when he showed up, even if he didn't open his mouth.
That is true.
But it's like, no, he really has to go find a teen.
He's gonna go hang loose.
And nobody cares when they go, Locus is dead. Oren's just like,
right, yeah. She's not sad about it. So there's also this insane scene. There's this conversation where Louise asks Black Bolt and Medusa, like, why do you just hide on the moon? And the answer is, we used to live on the Earth for generations, and as you might know, humans, when they meet something they don't understand, their first reaction is to attack. Which is cute, except every single one of you is incredibly violent. Everyone you've met on Earth is super nice to you. Nice to a fault. And you have broken a guy's arm, you started a prison riot, you blew up a parking lot, you've wrecked cars, you've set stuff on fire. Crystal just burned up Audrey's phone, which sucks and didn't apologize for that. Like, death and destruction and warranty voiding everywhere you go.
Yeah. They didn't tell a tale of like a war that occurred that they were driven out.
That is true.
It's just, people.
They just say, you know what, it sucked, and
we're like, fuck y'all, we're going to the moon.
Why did they go to the moon? Why did they go to the moon?
Why didn't, I mean, centuries ago, they could have just gone to the Americas. They
were on Earth for generations.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't figure it out.
Think how much less hostile going to Oklahoma would have been like 300 years ago.
We all used to, you know what? We used to live on Earth and we just couldn't figure it out. We just could not do it successfully. And we were like, you know what? Screw you guys.
We're going to go to an oxygen-deprived orb with 1/6 the Earth's gravity.
We're going to go live in
no
parking garage
soil. Yeah.
Yeah. So the moon doesn't make sense. And then here's the thing that I do not understand at all. This is my biggest problem, possibly with the entire show. Meanwhile, on the moon, we're talking to Maximus. Maximus has decided that like sending superior super mutants to Hawaii to pick these people up is not working. So we're going to send some lower caste people. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's talking to his little friend Tybor. And they decide, and so they pick these people, including, and so one of them is Brunaja's dad. And I'm sorry that you don't remember who Brunaja is. Nobody cares. Brunaja is the little kid who we keep mentioning like once an episode, who can tell the future. He doesn't do anything that interesting. But it's his dad is one of the people who's going to go. And his dad has power. So like Maximus and Tybor are talking about like the ones with abilities.
Yeah.
And his dad has these like mutant arms. We don't really know what he does, but he has like weird like scales on his arms.
Yeah, he has like armadillo arms or something.
Yeah. But that means he's a mutant, right? He did the Terrigenesis and he got a power.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not clear at all. Like it just maybe not a good enough power. Like they say Inhumans who were formerly cast off and hidden away.
Mm-hmm. Why? What?
You know, because
I thought, but like this was the one thing that we thought we understood about this stupid fucking culture is that like the ones with mutant powers are the superior ones. The ones who don't get powers are the ones who stay underground.
Don't know.
This makes me so angry.
Yeah, no, rightfully so.
This makes me so angry. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
what are you talking about? Don't say the word rewrite. I
don't think it was. I think
it did not understand.
I think the writing and editing was just so sloppy and this bad. I mean, you said it in the first episode we did that
what are you talking
about? They had the network had concerns with the script, right? And I think those concerns were great and small. And I don't think
entirely justified.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't. They were. This wouldn't have made it through my screenwriting 101 class in film school. Like people would have been like, "Wait, I don't understand." You said on page 25 that
the entire premise of your concept is that these are the people. Why are we sending Brunaja's dad?
Why are we sending anybody at this point?
I know.
They're stuck on Earth. They're not a threat.
And then they don't do anything when they get there, which is pretty great.
Yeah, they're going to be in human jail in very short order.
So the guys, so the lower caste people who bizarrely have some kind of power that they don't explain, they show up on Earth. Oren's a jerk to them, and then like brings them into the lab, Declan's lab area.
By the way, Oren shows terrible leadership in that moment.
Oh, she's the worst.
Yeah. Oh, the birds are singing and the grass is green.
It's the most obnoxious thing. I know. Yeah, I should have written this down. Yeah, so they get down and Brunaja's dad is like, "Oh my god!" Like he has the reaction that all of them should have, which is,
"Yes,
Earth is really nice. What the fuck are we doing on the moon?
This doesn't smell like body odor and rocks."
And Oren's like, and it's just like, "Yeah, it's great here. The birds are smiling, or what is it, like the sun is shining, the grass is pretty, and the birds are singing a pretty tune. Get over it. Come on, we're gonna go huddle in this warehouse."
Those people should have all just run for the hills. Been like, it's amazing here. We should have
That
to live under the
great.
yoke of King Maximus.
Oh my god, that would have been the greatest scene, actually, of just them just like skipping away, like, hooray, let's go.
It's not a Suicide Squad thing where they have a little bomb in their head. There's
right,
nothing.
Yeah, they could just run. Yeah,
Locust is dead. They can't find him.
Yeah, no one cares about them. Yeah. And honestly, like being a homeless person in Hawaii is automatically better than being king on Adelan.
This is true.
You would have a marvelous time in Hawaii, even if you didn't have a house.
Yeah.
You could just go swimming and then like find tourists.
This is your office. Handouts.
This is my office. Yes. They all show up on Earth and they're like, this is my office. And they run. Yeah. Oh, it must be gorgeous there. God, I actually now I want to be a homeless Inhuman in Hawaii. All right, so here comes Karnak and Gorgon. The Doublemint twins are showing up to this stupid warehouse, and so they're talking about like, what are we going to do when we get in there? There's all these people with guns who are trying to kill us. We're here. Primary mission objective is save Declan and Sammy, I'm going to say.
Who they don't know.
Who they don't know who they
by
are.
sight or anything.
That is true. They've never met him. Oh my God. How are they supposed to know? How are they supposed to identify their target?
Everyone put on name tags.
Yeah, so we're supposed to find the two strangers who we don't know. And so Karnak is kind of like reflecting on his time with Jen. Gunshot Jen. And he's like, the flaw in my thinking was assuming there's only one right way to do things. And it's like, oh, they're trying to do character growth. That is so cute. Look at them.
Which is, by the way, maybe not exactly how his power is defined either. In war, or the conclusion he would have ever come to.
Yeah, it doesn't actually make any sense.
No, he's going for what is the highest percentage success, which he states, right? And
that is true.
That's the whole thing of the stupid chess thing. Now he can't play chess because he's playing against himself or whatever, right. Whatever dumb metaphor they're trying to do with their like, we watched Lost and these are how flashbacks work sequences.
Yeah.
And the answer is he would know, well, there are 1,000 options, but different things have different probability of being successful.
That is true.
The writers aren't smart enough, and the actor wasn't smart enough to say, this line sucks. Like, we should rewrite this line.
They didn't have anything better. This was the rewrite.
Yeah.
So Gorgon comes up with the dumbest possible idea, the least % chance, which is, Karnak, everyone thinks that you always win, and so you should just walk straight into their trap, and they won't even try to stop you because they'll think that you must be correct. You must have some amazing plan. Which is what they do, and it works
like a charm.
Like, it's unbelievable. So Karnak just like walks toward them in the open, and like Oren has a gun. You know, she's like behind something, and she's got a gun, and she's training it on him, and he's just like, "Well, here I am, walking towards you," and she says like, "He wants me to shoot him. It's got to be a trick." And so they just let him walk in and kill them all.
Well, they saw what he did to Jen when they shot, so who knows what collateral damage he's going to cause.
Oh, that's right. If I shoot you, you'll just move your hand.
Yeah.
So then they just let him walk in. He meets Bernaj's dad and just like instantly puts him to sleep. Don't know the point of bringing any of them here. They don't do anything. None of those people do a goddamn thing.
No.
And then alarmingly, so Karnak walks in and there's Mortis, like terrible Mortis with the bike reflector eyes, whose face is an endless stream of fire. So he has this ugly metal copper mask, rusty copper mask all over his face. And so there's Mortis and Karnak. And Mortis says, "The all-powerful Karnak, I've heard you like to tell your enemies all the different ways that you can defeat them, so I'm going to give you the chance to do so right now. Please, show me your genius." which I think is like the world's only example of a villain monologuing about how he wants another villain to monologue. And it works. And Karnak just talks him to death.
Yeah.
And that's that.
I don't know if they didn't have the budget to ever make good on the promise of a guy whose face shot fire. I really wanted to see that.
Yeah, it is not hard for that guy to kill people.
No.
And yet he does not do so successfully even once.
No.
How hard could it possibly be?
What an insane threat this guy is, that he's had to have been locked up and he has to wear this crazy suit. But it's Chekhov's flaming face.
Which they just leave on the wall. Nobody dies. No one dies as a result of his flaming face, except for the parking lot.
No, it's mind-boggling, and it's even more mind-boggling because clearly he has this under control and always did. Because I thought, he's going to do something where he's like a maniac and he just starts torching his colleagues or something.
Right. That's why we have to put him in cryogenic suspension somewhere.
Yeah. And
no, he's fine. He's fine. He's just as good as anyone else.
Yeah. It's completely insane.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then Gorgon and Orin have another big dumb kickboxy fist fight.
Yeah.
As people do in all movies.
Around plastic and poles. Plastic suspended by aluminum poles.
Episode 6 isn't that good, I think is what we're saying. So Crystal and Dave are up on a high place somewhere. They found a location. Someone has found a location in Hawaii, which is very pretty, I'm sure. And Crystal is like shooting lightning out of her fingertips to attract the attention of her family, which is a good plan, which is why Dave made it. And
also, lightning is not one of the 4 elements, but which is what they define. Oh yeah, they have a hard.
Well, you know what? Before that, she used cold as her power as well, which is also not an element.
It's
fact,
real.
To be honest with you,
real easy. There's a whole band named after the elements that you can refer to.
To be honest, though, the elements actually are what, lead and gold and.
Well, it depends on what you want to say they are. It's like
oxygen.
Do you mean earth, wind, fire, and water? Which would be the initial 4 elements, which would be what I thought her powers were based on because of the fire burst. If it's not that, and you're saying, well, I control the elements, now you're talking about I control everything.
Hydrogen and oxygen.
I can turn I can turn everything into krypton gas or whatever. Yep. Yeah. Nope. I don't. Yeah.
I can shoot lightning from my fingers.
Yep.
And he's just perfect. He's just super supportive, and he's when your family comes, I'll be happy for you, but I'll miss you. It's hard to believe I've only known you for a little while, and I'm just oh my god, Dave has so much game.
He's ideal Dave.
He really is. He's that was so awesome. You're some god of thunder. And it's how can you the tragedy of this entire show is that Dave does not fuck everyone on the show. Isn't that the happy ending that we're all looking for? Is for Dave to just fuck literally every other character.
I think that would have done it with the door shut. We don't see it, but Lockjaw is just happily outside. And we know from Lockjaw's contented look that things are going well for Dave and the Inhumans.
But not just with Crystal, but literally everyone.
I hear what
you're
saying.
And then you just hear screams and gunshots. And it's Dave's making people happy right now.
Oh,
I love you, Dave. So then Black Bolt, Medusa, and Louise come and find her. And it's a really cute scene because Crystal's kissing Dave, and Medusa introduces Louise, and she's we also made a friend. Mm-hmm. And it's so cute because their friends are the only decent characters on the whole show.
It's kind of like when you meet your neighbors on the street and you're we have a dog too, and you let your dogs kind of sniff for a second. Yeah.
Speaking of which, now they have, so we picked you up and now we have to go and get the stupid dog, which we didn't bring with us.
Yeah, animating the dog in this environment was too hard.
Finally, Louise and Dave are together, the two best characters on the show, which, thankfully, don't spoil this, but as you know, Ryan, they're going to dominate the next 2 episodes of the show, right?
Yes.
The only
the writers made the correct choice.
Don't tell them yet. All right. Back at the terrible lab, like Mortis is going to kill everybody. And so Gorgon just like stomps his foot and destroys the whole building, which falls down around them. These people.
I don't understand what fell on anybody. I've seen it 3 times.
There's a warehouse, right? Like they hit, I don't know, the ceiling? I don't know.
Yeah, they're in like a tin building.
Building that kind of just like falls apart.
Yeah. And I'm like, it could kill you. It absolutely could.
I guess.
I'm not clear on like he's just kind of dirty when they find him. He's
Gorgon's dead.
Yeah.
Gorgon ends up dead at the end of this somehow.
Yeah.
So that's sad. Now the point of this entire intervention, like the reason why they even went there, was to save Sammy and Declan, which I have literally no idea if they did that, and I could not care less.
They did.
Does Sammy run away?
Because there's a scene just like the one with Jen, where Sammy's like,
bye-bye.
It's been real.
We had a good time. We had a good time together.
Out of frame, and like, like gets out of frame.
He paces backwards slowly.
Yeah, I guess my storyline is done, and the checks will no longer be coming.
Bye, Sammy. Yeah, so is the thing is like now Jen's gone and Sammy's gone and no one knows why. So they get back to the barn to get the stupid dog. And Louise is like, he's so big. I can't wait for him to take us to the moon. And Black Bolt and Medusa are like, yeah, about that though. That was not
sorry, nerd.
Sorry, nerd. So cops show up. Audrey has called the police, as she should, as everyone should on this show. She's called the police. The police have now finally shown up to arrest everyone. And so Medusa comes up with this like non-idea where she says to Louise, like, you hang here. And Louise is like, okay, so you need me to handle the police. And by handle, obviously they mean get arrested and imprisoned by.
Yeah. She just said, I have been driving a stolen car.
She's got a record. Yeah. they've been tracking her for episodes now.
Yeah. She needed to go to the moon. It was much safer for her to go to the moon.
Who needs to be on the moon? It's Louise, who has an unbelievable like record at this point. She's like on wanted posters. But Black Bolt and Medusa and Lockjaw and Crystal all run away like little cowards. Dave goes out in front of the barn and Louise stays in the barn. And Audrey's like, they have this huge dog. You have to arrest the huge dog. And Dave is like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so they open, but this is a cute scene because now this is a scene that has Dave and Louise in it. The two best characters finally have a scene. And Audrey opens up the barn and Louise is clever. And she's like, oh my God, thank God. Like this girl locked me in the barn. And so Dave and Audrey's like, no, but they had a dog and there was another girl. She's not even the girl. And Dave and Louise are just like, we have no idea what she's talking about. And they talk to the police and the police go away. And Dave and Louise are completely adorable.
And I don't blame the cop for his reaction at all.
Which is
maybe the most
like,
believable.
You. Yeah.
He's just like, if this happens again, you're going to be in trouble.
And Audrey's like, no, you have to believe me. So Audrey's taken away. And there's Dave and Louise just standing there. And now their lives are ruined. They are the only good characters, but they are completely ruined and left behind. And I believe that this is the last time we see Dave at all. We see Louise a little bit in episode 8.
Well, Medusa talks about Dave in the next episode.
Yeah.
And it's what they like wink. No, we don't. It's just that's the last reference, I think, is in the next episode. I don't think he's even mentioned in the final episode.
Nope. So Louise kind of comes back for a very, very brief time in episode 8. But neither of them are in episode 7, and Dave is just gone. Which just says like nobody is safe on this show. Like there's no emotional investment that you can possibly take. They have specifically instructed us to care about Dave and Crystal and to care about Louise. And they just split them up and don't think about them anymore.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have to get through the slog of episode 7 and 8 and choices that they
make. Yeah, so the writers just do not give a shit about these characters. And now Gorgon is dead, and the dog is just like, "Well, I'm gonna take you to Des Moines or somewhere. Like, we'll go to Hackensack." Like, the dog has no idea where they're supposed to go. Dog just takes them somewhere. Maximus on the moon somehow has figured out that Tybor is leading a rebellion, and so he just kills Tybor and anyone else, and he's just like, nothing is going to stop me, nothing. And then he takes Tybor's blood and he puts it on Bernaja's face.
There's a couple of things that happen with Maximus. Well, one thing that happens with Maximus in this, and then one thing I have to mention about the aesthetics of the throne room. But they show this scene of like he's in fight training, which for some reason, I guess because they live in a bubble on the moon, has to happen in the throne room. Like that's like being in like your parents' fancy room where you weren't allowed in that room as a kid. Like we had that room. Like we weren't allowed in the fancy room on that furniture.
Did you shoot people in that room?
We didn't have fight training in that room. I'll put it down. we weren't allowed to throw things in the house. But and I speak as someone who did at one point earn his black belt in karate. If your takeaway,
I believe you,
was you're getting your ass kicked because you're not good enough at it, so you're going to strike someone from behind who's 3 times your body weight and all muscle, and then walk away like you're sashaying, like you really figured some shit out. Watch your back. Like Maximus was definitely going to get his ass kicked in a flashback that did not get shown on screen. Like
now I know what you're talking about. All right,
it was bananas, and we're supposed to be like learning some lesson. I'm like, there's no there. I can see you're like, oh, we're showing he's devious. It's like
it's not a great scene.
This is the worst written possible scene to show someone's devious. It's to show he's just a vindictive punk.
Yeah, he's just
who's using his already elevated position at being brother of king to get away with something that otherwise Gorgon would have literally stomped him to death. So in failing to learn the actual lessons he should have learned, which none of this ties directly in with what they then show subsequently. Bad writing, shocker. The thing that blows my mind, there's these statues that are in the throne room, and they're so bad. They're counting on the fact, and despite the fact that this was shown in IMAX, they're counting on the idea that you're never going to look at these statues very closely. And,
which is true, because I forgot that they existed.
Oh, they're completely there. And
no, I know.
They have decided to give the 2 female statues amazing racks. Like it's really like I
didn't notice.
It was on the second time I was watching it, and I was they're wearing like wonder bras that are really pushing everything northward, and it's like either they don't quite know how boobs work or how like cloth hangs on the female form, whoever made these janky statues, but they also don't look like any humans. And like at one point,
I mean, they're 3D printed. Let's call it spit.
And
3D printed statues.
Maximus is like giving a monologue to the statue of was supposed to be his father, which is just like generic male shape. statue when we've seen his father. Like it and it's just unbelievable that this was a Marvel product, that Kevin Feige didn't just go, you know what, just bury everything in the sea. We can't blame
Kevin.
No, I know. And he clearly had no power over whatever happened with this show. Kevin
very much cleaned his hands of all this bullshit years earlier. He didn't even like it when it was the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. It's kind of mind-boggling to see, when you think about, like, if you ever watch the extras on Disney Plus or whatever of like making the costumes for Eternals, and the thought that goes into like every light bulb in a sequence. Yeah. And then you see these statues and you're just like, it's
and like, Eternals sucked.
And Eternals was not the world's best movie. Aesthetically, it had some great stuff in it. But it suffers from the whole thing of we only have like 4 sets and then the woods outside of our hotel. But man, it wouldn't bug me so much, except for all they have is whatever the freaking teleport wall, and then they have the throne room, and I'm like, why did you go with this aesthetic if this is like all you could afford to build? Anyway, I complained about all that in a prior episode, but it really was irking me as I was rewatching it today.
Well, we're coming down. We have now discussed episode 6. I feel like is there something that we can do right now? Because we have to. The people were depressed. The characters are depressed. The listeners, if there are any, are entirely depressed.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What can we offer to them right now that will get us through episodes 7 and 8? What characters are still currently alive? We've got Dave and Louise in a barn. We've got Audrey. Sammy's out there. The girl who works at the clothing store. We know that
the Hawaiian prison system is somewhat corrupt.
Is there anything that the people of Hawaii can do at this point?
Oh no, they're absolutely helpless from the Inhumans rampage. Someone's realizing their best jacket's gone.
Oh my gosh, you know what? Oh, I just thought of the this really is a sad episode. I just realized why. Because Dave is now left on Earth by himself. And he doesn't even have any pot. Oh my god. That's the tragedy. That's the tragedy of Dave. That's the tragedy. He's just like, okay, Crystal's gone. My magical teleporting dog is gone.
Yeah.
Terrible girlfriend has been led away by the police, as she should be.
Try and explaining that 48 hours to your bros. And while you're...
But what is he going to do? Because now there's no marijuana in Hawaii because the cartel's supply was burned up by Jen.
Freaking Jen. No, Dave's in for a pretty weird few weeks till he's got a bad weekend coming up.
Yeah, he's got a bad weekend coming up. I guess that's it. I guess, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, this is a sad show, and it's just going to get sadder.
Yeah, this is also where I mentioned the scene where they like pull up in front of some barrels and have a conversation about like the nature of the throne or something.
Who does this?
Well, that's the kind of it's Luis is driving. It's done in like maybe 2 shots.
Yeah.
And
is this where they run into a fence and they're like, we have to go and walk away from the fence?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the weirdest scene.
It's on the way, right? On the way to Crystal's to go and find Crystal. They
clearly decided we weren't saying enough about the nature of the throne and how we've been bad leaders or something.
Oh yeah.
Because they shoot it just from dead on, from like, okay, we have this road, we're going to set up these 5 barrels and say there's something going on the other side, which is not for you as the audience to know.
I thought it was like they're driving up to a tourist attraction and that you can't actually drive all the way up to.
The road's out.
That's where like, but Dave and Crystal are at the top of that, shooting off lightning.
No, they're sitting there talking,
kissing at that point.
No. I think this is before they see the lightning, but it's a really weird sequence, and it feels. I'm not going to use the word rewrite or reshoot, but it definitely feels like an insert of some kind. Like they were starting to realize, and it's part of Medusa is going to go off the rails in the next 2 episodes, being all over the map as to where she stands on things. And I feel like this is further progress of that character complication, where she has to both say what Black Bolt's thinking,
right,
and argue with it.
Yes.
It's the miracle worker, I guess, of Inhumans. Anyway, that's what you have to look forward to, is Medusa making less sense in prior and episodes.
And the amazing return of a character who we thought was dead.
Yeah.
And might as well be, because I don't believe he does a goddamn thing in the entire episode.
It is completely baffling.
All right, just wait, Inhumans fans. We will be back next week with the thrilling conclusion of Marvel's Inhumans and all of the tragedy that unfolds. Thank you very much, everybody. SuperheroesEveryday.com is a comedy blog that will give you all kinds of information on the history of superhero movies. Come and check it out. SuperheroesEveryday.com, or on Twitter or Facebook. Thank you all very much. We will see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I love you.
That about wraps it up for this edition of The Signal Watch, a production of the League of Melbotus. Thanks for sticking with us. If you enjoyed the podcast, we invite you to drop on by the Signal Watch blog, where you'll find write-ups of a wide variety of movies and more. We'd love to hear from you, so find us online and let us know what you think. Whether you prefer email, blog comments, or social media, we'll be happy to hear from you. We'll be back soon with more exceedingly high-quality content. So, until next time, God damn it, babies, you've got to be kind.